2009, a British neurologist published a paper in one of the most prestigious medical journals on Earth. He wasn't writing about a disease. He wasn't writing about a virus. He was writing about power. His name was Lord David Owen, a practicing neurologist and a former Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, a man who had sat inside the rooms where history was made. And what he found, after studying a century of US presidents and British prime ministers, was that something was wrong with them. Not metaphorically wrong, not morally wrong, clinically wrong. He called it Hubris Syndrome, a real, diagnosable, acquired personality disorder with 14 documented symptoms, triggered specifically by the possession of power. And the most dangerous men in history? They all had it. The symptoms were always there. We just didn't have a name for it yet. This is what absolute power actually does to the human brain. To understand hubris syndrome, you have to stop looking at history books and start looking at brain scans. Because in the last 2 decades, neuroscientists stopped asking whether power corrupts and started asking what it physically does. And what they found should terrify you. At UC Berkeley, a psychologist named Dacher Keltner spent 20 years running experiments on people handed power. The pattern never broke. They grew more impulsive, more reckless, blind to risk. And worst of all, they lost the ability to see the world through anyone else's eyes. Keltner's conclusion was chilling. Subjects under the influence of power behaved as if they had suffered a traumatic brain injury. Then, at McMaster University, a neuroscientist named Inzlicht Obhi went further. He put people under a machine that reads the brain directly, and he targeted a system called mirroring, the neural circuit that fires when you watch another human being, the circuit that lets you feel what they feel, the foundation of empathy itself. And when he gave his subjects a taste of power, that circuit went quiet. The more powerful they felt, the weaker the mirror became. Power was physically dampening the part of the brain that connects us to other people. Now apply that, not to a student in a lab, but to a president, a prime minister, a billionaire, someone marinating in power, not for an hour, but for years. Their reward system floods with testosterone. Neuroscientist Ian Robertson called it the winner effect. Every victory rewiring the brain to crave the next one. Do you see the trap closing? Power switches off the empathy that would restrain you and switches on the hunger for more. The brake fails, the accelerator jams, and the person holding power is the very last to notice. History gives us the autopsy. Rome, 37 AD. A young emperor named Caligula falls gravely ill. For weeks he hovers at the edge of death, and when he finally rises from his sickbed, Rome notices something is wrong. The man who comes back is not the man who fell. He declares himself a living god. He orders temples raised in his own honor. He demands to be worshipped beside Jupiter himself. He hands his favorite horse a marble stall, an ivory manger, a household of servants, and threatens to make the animal a consul of Rome. And when his campaign against Britain collapses, he turns his army on the ocean itself, ordering his soldiers to attack the waves and gather seashells as the spoils of his war against the sea. This is not ambition anymore. This is a mind that has lost its tether to reality. Symptom 11. Loss of contact with reality. Rome watched its god decay into a monster until his own guard drew their blades and ended him in a corridor. 4 years. That's all the disease needed. And if you think that was just one broken man, look at the pattern. Russia, 1812. Napoleon Bonaparte, the most brilliant strategist of his age, marches over 600,000 men toward Moscow. Every competent advisor he has begs him not to. He cannot hear them. His own offices wrote that he had begun to believe what he most desired. Barely 100,000 came home. Two rulers, 18 centuries apart, no connection between them, except one. The same checklist, the same certainty, the same collapse. Now here is the part you didn't expect. Because you're sitting there thinking, I'm not an emperor, I'm not a billionaire, this isn't me. But the disease doesn't start at the top. The same chemistry that destroyed Caligula fires in any brain that tastes power. The manager who stops listening the moment they're promoted. The voice that gets louder the second it's followed. The certainty that creeps in the instant you start winning. Every one of us carries the wiring. Psychologists found the exact same pattern in CEOs. They even named it the hubris hypothesis. The leader so intoxicated by his own winning streak that he bets everything on a deal everyone warned him against. The emperor's disease, in a corner office, in a meeting room, maybe in someone you answer to right now. So here is the thought I'll leave you with. The most dangerous moment in any human life is not failure. It's the moment you start to win and your brain quietly begins to convince you that you can no longer be wrong. That is when the protocol begins. This was File 1, the diagnosis. I'm going to keep opening the files. Stalin, the tech titans, the empires that thought they were eternal. If you want to understand the invisible disease shaping the people who shape your world, subscribe to the Hubris Protocol. The next file is already on the table.